Good afternoon and welcome to the Be the Ripple Creating Safe Spaces event. I'd like to officially welcome you on behalf of the Be the Ripple team and everybody who's involved today. And I really wanted to say, just enjoy yourself. Please get involved. Please tweet, please share in the chat box, please post some post-it notes on the whiteboards. We really want to gather some insights today that we can share with each other, with you all, and more widely so that organisations can really get better. Creating safe spaces, in my opinion, is something that really is so important within an organisation. It's vital that people can bring themselves, they can feel safe to voice their opinions without fear of retribution. And we're going to explore that today, and hopefully it's going to be something that's really useful for you in your practice and you can transfer back to the workplace. Have a lovely day, and I'll hand you over to Alex.
Hello. Imagine you're sitting in your time-travelling DeLorean. You key in 1991 and go back 30 years to a world before the global pandemic, where peace was being given a chance with the end of the Cold War and the end of the Gulf War. Bohemian Rhapsody was riding high in the charts, and the biggest political debate seemed to be about what to define as a biscuit or a cake. And employment legislation was really beginning to hot up. Since 1991, there have been 44 separate pieces of legislation shaping employment rights, twice as many as in the last 200 years. But roll forward to 2021, and it feels like Biff Tannen and his pals are still in positions of power. For those that don't know the Back to the Future story, these are the bullies who in one version of the future get their comeuppance and are working for the protagonists, and in the other version are in charge in a horrible dystopian future. For many of us, it feels as if the bullies have won or are winning, and the dystopian nightmare is the reality being lived. We are at an important inflection point where the world is more polarized, more unequal, worse tempered, but also kinder, more determined to fight injustice and to find a better way. I don't know about you, but let's not go back, build back worse, where grabbing thighs at a dinner party is an entitlement, where process gets hijacked at the expense of those with courage to raise concerns, where cronyism is put before the well-being of colleagues, where if you haven't seen it, then it can't be true, or choose to believe that a colleague is entirely kind. Let's have an honest and kind revolution where we can speak up and speak out, where we can be and feel safe at work, physically and psychologically. The pandemic has given us new optics and new opportunities, but this cannot be to rush back to the old ways. To the victims of bullying, harassment, victimization, and discrimination, we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. To the witnesses, we see you, we hear you, and we stand with you. To the perpetrators, we see you, we hear you, and we stand up to you. We can no longer stand by and let you do harm. The Japanese have a saying that the fish rots from the head. So while there is much that we can do as individuals, the tone is set from above, politically and organisationally. And while we have more legislation than we can shake a stick at, despite some attempts at repeal, the answer to better organisations is unlikely to be found through legislation. The future will be won through education, demonstration, and persuasion. When will we work out that the cost of the current harm is hurting every sector and every business? When will we realise that we are losing out on the diversity of voices and the inability for people to bring their whole selves to work, and everybody loses? So what can we do? We don't have a flux capacitor. We probably don't have a DeLorean for that matter, but we do have a brilliant lineup here, and together we can create the future we need. Let's not take another 30 years to move a few steps forward and many more back. Let's use our experiences, evidence, energy, and endeavour to change the world. It just takes a bit of focus and a good deal of will. Oh, and possibly an arsehole policy. Good afternoon, good morning if you're in the West, and good evening if you're in the East. I'm Alex Killick. I'm one of the co-founders of the Be the Ripple movement, and really delighted to be your host for today's proceedings. By day, I'm the director of Leading Kind and People Consultancy, that helps leaders and organizations build better practice for better outcomes. And despite my youthful appearance, joking, I bring the baggage of over 30 years executive and non-executive experience in a range of sectors, and I've got the scars to prove it. From speaking truth unto power, transforming toxic cultures. I've also found it difficult at times to find my own voice. I've suffered burnout, and I'm also a sepsis survivor. Unkindness costs a lot, both intentional and unintentional unkindness. We know that the global pandemic has been a catalyst for an eruption of kindness, but we need to understand whether it offers anything different to related things like care, compassion, civility, empathy, dignity, and respect, and to explore whether kindness is more than just the absence of bullying or incivility at work. The idea of compassion being impactful is also believed to be central to thriving in humans, what Thatcher Keltner called survival of the kindest, rather than the received wisdom of survival of the fittest. The COVID-19 pandemic is forcing a fundamental rethink of where work gets done and how it gets done, and perhaps a once-in-a-generation opportunity to change how organizations are led, more collaborative rather than more competitive. Interestingly, of the top 10 happiest countries in the world in recent rankings, 6 out of 10 are run by women. The UK is not in the top 10. Last time I looked, this was not the same statistic across organizations. So if you're joining us from Scandinavia or New Zealand, please share your secrets. We know that building back better will be tricky, but I believe that building and retaining a culture of kindness is key. Key for attraction and retention, key for engagement and well-being, key for performance, and key for reputation. I am, like many of you, on a mission now to make work fairer. It's a real privilege to work with like-minded individuals who've joined the Be the Ripple movement. I'm also a dad, a dog walker, a terrible guitarist, and a husband in training. And when I'm not doing all of that, I'm trying to do a PhD on kindness. I'm also a proud Rippler, like many here. Our program today is brought to you by Be the Ripple. Be the Ripple was started by the marvelous Joanna, who you saw on VT at the beginning. A blog she shared was the catalyst, and out of a pandemic, a movement was started. Yes, to make work and workplaces kinder, but also to stand up to bullying and all the harm it does to individuals. A small plug, but the 3 main authors of our little book of kindness are here on stage today, or behind the scenes. In this powerful little pocket rocket, we set out our stall for how we can make the world of work kind by design. But we also acknowledge that we have a long way to go to rid our workplaces of toxicity, incivility, and stupidity. To find out more, you'll need to buy the book. This is available at one good online retail emporium at a very reasonable price. In it, we set out our proposition for a new operating system for kindness. Who knows, this event might spark the little book of kindness too. Anyway, enough of the sales pitch. Let's get on with the show. Thank you for your generous donations, over £600 so far. They're going to our chosen charities, 2 social enterprises, the Jordan Legacy and Mental Health Monster, supporting suicide prevention and the mental health of our next generation. Okay, a few housekeeping comments before we begin. There is no planned fire drill today, so if you see smoke or a fire, then please leave your house building by the nearest exit. This is an interactive event, so please use the chat function to comment or just say hi as we go along. We have 3 sets of 2 plenary speakers, and after each set, you'll be able to visit the rooms on the Remo floor. There are only 6 seats per room, so run to get there early, but there will be enough seats for everybody to find a room for a breakout chat. Double tap on the room and you'll be able to enter. Please use the whiteboards and post it to share your thoughts and comments, but also think about questions that we can put to our super duper panels later. Once the breakout has finished, you'll then be magically transported to the main stage for our next set of plenary speakers. After the last speakers, there will be 2 panels. The first one discussing safer spaces generally, and the second discussing safer spaces for women. So put questions you have in the chat and we'll pick up as many as we can later.